Well, joining me now for some analysis from our Pretoria studio is political analyst Professor Dirk Coetzee. Thank you so much for your time. Now, an interesting twist of events here. We were meant to be having a conversation about perhaps would be the final candidate being named as the new Johannesburg mayor, but now we understand that the election has rather been postponed to the 4th and 5th of December. What does this particular postponement mean, Dirk?
Well, I think what it does is it gives the three parties a little bit more time in order to negotiate about who of them will reach that magical 136, 136 votes in order to be able to elect the mayor. I think it's unequivocal about what should be the majority. What the DA is doing, I think, is not really going for a legal opinion, but rather to try to get more time in order to continue with their negotiations. I think that the dilemma for all the parties is that no party will have a majority, even if their support, their coalition partners or their supporters are joining them. In the case of the ANC, they are about 16, 15 votes short of a majority. In the case of the DA, they are more than about 23 votes short of a majority. So in the end, it is really what the EFF is going to do. Well, on which side are they going to vote for their candidates, or whether some of the big parties, the two main parties, will support the EFF's candidate. Those are the three options really that exist.
But over and above all those options, I mean, the Speaker Vasco Da Gama also announced that he needs time to consult with some legal advice regarding, of course, the election. Of course, not to the pleasantry of some of the members. We saw there Dakota Lehueta accusing him of laziness and saying that this is absolute recklessness coming, from the council, proceedings. But why do you think the Speaker needs that particular legal advice?
It doesn't need the legal advice. That's my point. It is very clear what the majority is going to be, and that because the majority of 50% plus one applies to the election of a mayor, to the motion of no confidence in the mayor, as well as the approval of the budget. For all other decisions in the Metro Council, they need just what they call plurality. That means any majority. But in the case of these cases that I've mentioned, they need 50% plus one of the total of membership of the council. So my interpretation is that they are simply buying time in order to see if they can't come to some agreement, but it looks like especially the EFF.
Now, Dirk, I'm reading up here as well that some of, the announcements that came out from those opposing this decision, for example, that being ANC's Dada Morero, saying they will go the legal route because they believe that, the DA has taken an illegal route postponing this session. And they were quoted as saying that they know that the ANC and its partners were going to win today. Does that particular legal consultation, from the ANC stand?
Well, I think they can obviously do that. They can challenge and review a decision by the Speaker, Vasco Da Gama. But the dilemma applies to the ANC also. Even if the 5 votes or the 5 of the IFP are added to that of the ANC's 117, then they still don't have the majority of 136. So for the ANC is not yet ready at this point in time in order to have, even if they are supported by the African Independent Congress, by the Patriotic Alliance and some other small parties, and there are not many left, really then they won't have a majority. And that is the predicament that exists within Johannesburg at the moment. No party has a majority. And I think what they try to avoid is that it goes into a stalemate situation, which will ultimately mean that there will have to be, that the council will have to be dissolved and new elections must be held. It happened twice since 2016 in local government situations, Metsimaholo in northern the Free State, as well as in Kutu in KwaZulu-Natal, were in these situations, and they had to have elections in order to resolve the situation.
Yeah, and also the names of the candidates, they being quite, hotly contested, views coming in there, particularly with, the ANC's preferred candidate, that's Jeff Makobo. We heard the DA's GP chairperson, Mike Morarty, saying that he is corrupt. Why would the ANC, nominate somebody who is corrupt as Jeff? The EFF also having, obviously, their own opinions about the ANC's candidate. But looking at each candidate, particularly the DA, EFF and ANC, what do you make of each candidate? Dirk, are you with us?
I lost you for a few seconds.
All right, I'll repeat my question. I mean, I was just referring to some of the annunciations that were made around some of the candidates, particularly Jeff Makobo, who's the ANC candidate. We've heard the DA chief, or GP rather, chairperson, Mike Moriarty, saying that he is corrupt. But I wanted your view, your opinion regarding each candidate, particularly from the DA, EFF, as well as the ANC.
Well, the DA's candidate is a member of the mayoral committee at the moment. For finance, he's at the same time the leader of government business in the council. So he's in a relatively senior position, but he does not have the same recognition value as Urban Mashaba, for example. So even from a DA's most positive point of view, if he's elected, he's going to come in as someone who's been a team player for a long time in the DA, but not necessarily a very strong person in terms of taking the lead. In the case of the EFF, he is the leader of the EFF in the council, and therefore he's the strongest person of the EFF at the moment. They have 30 seats, and that is why I mentioned all the time that they are a very critical factor in this election. But the EFF, with 30 out of 270, is not at all in a position really to be able to dictate the situation in terms of majorities. Where that role comes in is in order to add on to the votes of the other two parties in order to take push them past the final requirement of a majority. In the case of the ANC, I don't know the candidate very well, but on the basis of what has been presented here so far, it doesn't seem as if he's a very sort of credible person also. So it means that none of the three candidates really are very strong candidates for this position.
Well, the question still remains, who will take that position amongst the three? Well, thank you so much. That is our political analyst, Dirk Coetzee, joining us from our Pretoria studio.